Oh, hello, 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 my friends. Scotty J here, back again with another episode of 9 Hours, 9 Persons, and 9 Doors. Now, last time we traveled through all the rooms we needed to, doors 5, 8, and 6. I have now headed off to a new destination. We found the body in the shower room and learned that actually might not be Snake. However, there's no time for celebrating yet because we also just found Clover's deceased body. So let's pick it up from there, shall we? All right. Let's go. Are you all right? It was a foolish question, and he knew it. Yeah, I think so. Her voice was weak. The fever had gone down, but the emotional scars she'd received were not likely to recede as quickly. Junpei laid his hand on her shoulder, and they walked back to the bedroom. You should get some rest. He lowered June until she was sitting against the bed. She nodded once and stared at the floor. There were 4 others in the room, Ace, Lotus, Santa, and Seven. They all stared at nothing, their faces drawn and tired. After a while, they drifted into the bathroom to see Clover's corpse themselves. Once everyone was back in the bedroom, Junpei walked slowly to the center of it and looked as the slumped figures gathered there. Who was the first to find the body? Me. Seven spoke from behind Junpei. He turned around. Seven's hand was up. Why'd you come back to this room? To look for Clover. Why else? I found her body in the bathroom. Soon as I did, I ran outside. I got to the top of the stairs by the casino and yelled as loud as I could. Hey guys, I found her, but it's bad. She's in the bathroom, in the first-class cabin. Come quick. Or something like that. Then I went back to the bathroom. Ace, Santa, and Lotus showed up real soon after that. But I guess you two hadn't heard me or something, because you didn't show. So I took off down the stairs to look for you. After that, you know the rest, right? Junpei nodded and closed his eyes. There was one more thing he needed to ask. Seven, there's one thing I'm worried about. What's that? When we finished all the puzzles in this room and got the door open, you stuck one of those plates in between the door and the frame, right? Why'd you do that? Oh, come on, didn't I already tell you that? I did it so that the door wouldn't lock, so we could come back to this room. Oh, you think I did it? Well, I don't know. That kind of depends on what you say, doesn't it? Seven sighed and shook his head. Follow me. There were 2 doors standing next to one another. He opened the one on the right. Behind the door was a closet. Seven stepped inside. He stood in front of one of the shelves that filled it and gestured towards a small box. That box was a small metal cube. He looked at Junpei. This is the reason. This safe. We couldn't open it when we were getting through this room. I figured there might be something pretty important in it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Besides, I figured eventually we might need to figure out what the numbers are for the safe. And if we did, we didn't want to screw around with door 5 again. So I put that plate in the exit door so we could get back in this way. You get it now? Junpei nodded and looked at the safe. He grabbed the handle and shook it. Nothing happened. It was locked as it had been when Seven found it. There was one change, however. Just underneath the safe was a pile of fine, reddish-brown powder. Rust. Junpei stared at it for a moment. Had someone opened the safe, dislodging that rust? Junpei left the closet. Seven followed him back to the bedroom. It was cold and quiet. No one spoke. They sat, frozen in place, by shock and grief and fatigue. The room felt tiny and oppressive, and the thick metallic smell of blood had now filled the room. Junpei turned and headed for the living room. Anything to get out of there. Was there some other clue, perhaps? Anything that might lead him to whoever had stabbed Clover. He took his time and examined the room carefully. His eyes caught on the door. The door that led to the passageway of the number 5. Behind that door was the dead body of the 9th man. Maybe I should have another look at it, just in case. Quietly, he pushed open the door. The smell hit him like a blow to the face. His lungs contracted, unwilling to inhale such fetish air. Acid boiled up in the base of his stomach, churning what little food was there into vomit froth. It was too much for him, and he vomited. A thin seam of yellow water and bile spattered onto the floor. He wiped his mouth weakly and stared at the dead body. Chunks of torn flesh lay in the arc around the body. What remained of his intestines had slid onto the floor. The pool of blood that framed it was half dry, but so thick that it had taken a texture not so unlike an egg yolk prepared sunny side up. On the floor next to the broken mass of the man's head lay his glasses, cracks spidering across the lenses. The bloodstains near them had already dried, like scabs on the floor. That was when he noticed. It's gone. His bracelet. It's gone. It had been there when Junpei had gone through door 5 before. He was sure of it. Right next to the glasses. But now, it was gone. The number 9 bracelet was gone. But why? Had someone taken it? He was turning it over and over in his mind when he heard Seven's voice. Huh? Where'd Junpei go? He had drifted out to him from the living room. Junpei walked slowly out of the hallway. Oh, there you are. Were you looking for something in the hallway? Seven looked up as Junpei entered the room. Did you find something? He thought for a moment before responding. No, nothing. Technically, it wasn't a lie. He hadn't found anything. In a way, in fact, that was a problem. Something he'd expected to find hadn't been there. The 9th man's bracelet. What's up? Oh, well, I wanted you to take a look at something. What is it? Seven led Junpei back to the bathroom. As Clover's corpse came into view, he felt his heart flip and then fall into the bottom of his stomach. Something between a sigh and a groan escaped his lips. What was it you wanted to show me? His voice was hollow and empty. I searched Clover's body again, and I found this. As he spoke, he moved around Clover's head, then knelt down and flipped open her right hand. What? She was holding a piece of paper. I haven't actually looked at it yet. I didn't want to disturb the crime scene, you know? Basic stuff. Well, I did borrow one thing. He wasn't sure what it meant, but it likely didn't matter. The paper was more important. He picked it up and carefully opened it. There were 2 sentences written on it. Truth had gone, and truth had gone. Ah, now that truth is asleep in the darkness of the sinister hand. What is this? Some kind of secret code? Seven peered over Junpei's shoulder at the note. Junpei stepped away from Clover's body and into the living room. He began to pace, attempting to decode the note. The first clue was likely the phrase, sinister hand. Sinister hand, that meant, now is that your right hand or the left hand? It actually is the left hand, fun fact. Sinister was a term in heralding that meant to the left of the bearer of the coat of arms. The left hand. The left hand. What did the left hand mean? Junpei looked at his own left arm. At the bracelet on his wrist. Did the darkness of the sinister hand have something to do with the bracelet? He examined the bracelet closely. There were 2 protrusions on either side of the face. The left and the right sides of the face. Left and right. Left and right. Right and left? Truth is gone. Truth. Gone. It sounded funny, but what did it mean? Truth. Gone. Maybe those 2 words... What else could they mean? What else could gone and truth mean? Truth, of course, meant something that was correct. Something that was fact. In other words, something that was right. It would follow that gone, then, meant left. After all, after someone left, they were gone. In this case, however, they clearly referred to directional homonyms. So that means truth right, gone left. That seemed to make sense. Junpei looked at the bracelet again. The 2 protrusions on the left and right side of the face. Junpei pressed them in the following order. Right, left, right, left, right, left. Right, left, right, left, right, left. And then... one after another, 8 numbers flashed on, then off, on the face of Junpei's bracelet. He checked one more time to be sure. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. Huh? Hey, what are those numbers? Junpei didn't answer. He couldn't answer. He had no idea what they were either. Besides, he was sure he would forget the numbers and the order they came in if he said anything. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. Muttering the numbers to himself over and over, Junpei headed towards the bedroom. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. Before long, he found himself in front of the safe again. Its lock was the only device he could think of that required a sequence of numbers, such as the ones he'd just discovered. Besides, someone had opened the safe at least once already. Had Clover come to the bedroom to open it? 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. Junpei slowly dialed the numbers into the bracelet this bracelet had given him. 1 to the right, 4 to the left, 3 to the right, 8 to the left, 3 to the right, 4 to the left, 2 to the right, and 1 to the left. Finished. Junpei heard the small, telltale sign of a lock opening. He grabbed the handle, took a deep breath, and pulled it up. Inside was a piece of paper. It was roughly the same size as the one Clover had been holding. Junpei picked it up. This is what it said. Fact 1. The notary game was played once before, 9 years ago. Fact 2. The person with the number 2 bracelet attended the game 9 years ago. Fact number 3. It was planned by the following 4 people. Cradle Pharmaceutical CEO, Gentaro Hongo. Cradle Pharmaceutical Chief of Staff, Nagisa Nagashiki. Cradle Pharmaceutical R&D Supervisor, Tekuwada Nubato. Majority shareholder in Cradle Pharmaceutical, Kajichiki Masushiro. I must punish them for the innocent lives they sacrificed. This is the only warning they will receive. That innocent souls might be saved, I now state the truth. 0. Junpei left the closet. There were 5 people waiting for him in the bedroom. Ace, Lotus, Santa, 7, and June. He looked at each one of them in turn, and then slowly placed his hand in the pocket of his vest. Sorry, but do you think you could all come with me? Come with you? I want all of you to go to the big hospital room. Why? There's something I want to be sure of. What do you want to be sure of? I just want to know if the person I suspect is really the culprit. Wait, then you're saying... Yes. I think I've got it figured out. I know who killed Santa and Snake and Clover. The atmosphere in the room changed. Grief was suddenly gone, replaced by attention with a strap of leather stretched to its limit. 5 sets of eyes stared at Junpei. He pretended not to notice. Anyways, if you could all please move to the big hospital room. I'll explain everything as soon as we get there. And almost as if on cue, the bell began to ring. They all heard it. It was the bell from the clock in the main staircase. The bell rang 5 times, and then ceased. It was 5 o'clock. They had only 1 hour left. We don't have a lot of time left. Let's go. Slowly, one by one, they followed Junpei out of the bedroom. Actually, before we get started, I was hoping you could do something for me. Junpei stopped in front of door 3 and turned around. Ace 7 and Lotus, could you please place your palms on the red? Huh? Why? If we need to get through the shower door, why don't we just... No, we're not going inside. Once you've authenticated, step away from the door. Why? Please just do it. Or perhaps you don't want to know who killed Snake and Clover. Junpei's implication was clear, and 7 understood perfectly. Ugh, fine. What about you, Ace? Lotus? Very well. Sure. Quickly, they pressed their palms onto the red. Once they had finished, they stepped away from the door, as Junpei had instructed. 3 asterisks showed on Red's display. Junpei approached it, held his bracelet over the scanner. He made quite sure he didn't place his palm on it, instead only brought the bracelet near it. The 4th asterisk appeared, just as Junpei had expected. It was possible to authenticate without placing one's palm on the red, so long as the bracelet was brought near it. Junpei pulled the lever down. Door 3 opened, like a hungry mouth. 9 long seconds passed. And the door shut, unfed. Junpei walked slowly back to the others, who were waiting some distance from the door, talking to one another. Santa and June had joined them as well. It looked as though they hadn't found a chance to break into the conversation yet. As Junpei approached, they turned to look at him, curiosity playing on their faces. Before long, the other 3 did as well. Clearly, they were all expecting some answers. Thanks. I appreciate your cooperation. Clearly, they'd hoped for something more forthcoming. He continued. By the way, Ace, would you mind if I asked you something? What is it? Do you know who I am? What kind of question? Just answer it, please. Who am I? You're Junpei. Of course. Who else would you be? Unfortunately, that's the wrong answer. Actually, I'm Santa. What? Ace's voice was full of surprise, but it also tinged with confusion and fear. Everyone else looked nearly as surprised. Santa looked especially shocked to discover that he was actually someone else. If he spoke, however, the trap would be exposed. Junpei quickly continued. The clothes I'm wearing, I borrowed them from Junpei. And the clothes he's wearing are mine. We did a little swap. That's ridiculous. Impossible. So you're saying I'm not Santa? Of course you aren't. Why? What makes you so sure I'm not Santa? If you were Santa, then door 3 wouldn't have opened just for us just now. 1 plus 7 plus 8 plus 3 equals 19. 1 plus 9 equals 10. The digital root would be 1. But the 4 of us just opened door 3. You can't possibly be Santa. Your bracelet number isn't 3. It's 5, right? Mm-hmm. Only then was it too late. Did Ace realize his mistake. He set his jaw and glared at Junpei. You're exactly right. My bracelet number is 5. As he spoke, Junpei lifted up his wrist to show everyone the bright red 5 on his wrist. Sorry, Ace. I tricked you. Of course, I'm not really Santa. I'm Junpei. Who could possibly think I was? It's obvious I'm not. To think I was, well, ridiculous. But I guess you couldn't see just how obvious it was. I asked you before, didn't I? What makes you so sure I'm not Santa? And you answered, if you were Santa, then door 3 wouldn't have opened for us just now. Most people wouldn't say something like that. As their justification for why I'm not Santa, I mean. The first thing would come to anyone else's mind wouldn't be my bracelet number. The only thing, that's only be one thing they'd say. One sentence. You don't have his face. Ace, you have prosopagnosia, am I right? Junpei's voice was quiet and calm. He knew the truth, and so did Ace. He could hear a sudden buzz of conversation from the others. Prosopagnosia? What's that? He heard Lotus begin to explain it to them. Ace glanced at them and then turned back towards Junpei and sighed. Very well. I confess. I have prosopagnosia. I cannot differentiate human faces. Is that what this is about? You want to mock me for my disorder? No, not at all. I'm not making fun of you at all, actually. In fact, I feel kind of bad for you. No, the reason I brought this up is that there's an excellent chance the person who killed Snake has prosopagnosia. Ace's face tightened. His eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Junpei leaned casually against the iron piping on one of the beds. I'll just come right out with it. I think it was you, Ace. You killed him. Junpei was suddenly very aware of the 5 pairs of eyes on him. He had their undivided attention now. The room had grown very, very quiet. Junpei took a deep breath. That's ridiculous. Possible evidence to you. I have 3 pieces of evidence, actually. The first, think back to a few hours ago. You made us argue over the 3 doors here in the big hospital room. There was no way all 7 of us could go through them. Lotus suggested that we sacrifice one of us. Lotus looked away awkwardly. Junpei glanced at her and then continued. Then you, Ace, said, I'll stay here. Why would you say something like that? It's pretty simple, really. You didn't want us to see the dead body in the shower room. You see, if Ace stayed behind, there were only 2 doors the rest of us could go through. Door 7 and door 8. There was no way we could get through door 3, the shower room. You knew that, didn't you, Ace? That's why you volunteered to stay behind. Oh, come on now. I think that's going a bit far. I can understand if you're jealous of my bravery, but please don't devalue my actions. I only wanted to save the rest of you. Surely you can understand my altruism. Altruism, huh? Junpei stared off into the darkness. Something very interesting, and lazily began to dig a persistent bit of wax out of his ear. You already knew, didn't you? You knew that whichever door we took, eventually we'd end up going back to the big hospital room. What on earth are you saying? Of course I didn't know that. How could I have? Oh, really? Yes, yes! Bleeding was not something he heard from Ace before. Junpei pulled the piece of wax from his ear, glanced at it, and flicked it off into the darkness. Oh well, that's cool. I still got 2 more pieces of evidence that says you're the killer. The second piece is, as I said earlier, you have prosopagnosia. And do you mean to imply that a person who can't distinguish human faces must be a bad person? Junpei, they call that prejudice. Oh, no. I'm not that stupid. Then why? Well, before I explain, I suppose there's something I should tell you. The corpse in the shower room? It's not Snake. What? What? Ace's face went pale. The others looked confused as well. The body wasn't Snake's. I didn't put it together right away, but there's something that Clover told me. She said that Snake's left arm was prosthetic. He lost his real arm in an accident. But the body we saw in the shower room? Let's just call him Guy X. Guy X's left arm was definitely flesh and blood. In other words, Guy X couldn't possibly have been Snake. Oh God. No, that's impossible. Ace had started muttering deliriously to himself, shaking his head back and forth. Junpei was long past caring. Let's say hypothetically that the killer didn't have prosopagnosia. If that was the case, he would immediately realize that Guy X wasn't Snake. Even if the clothes were the same as Snake's, their face would be completely different. It would have been obvious that they were different people. And yet, they still killed him. Why? Why would they kill a stranger who'd only just shown up? On the other hand, if the killer did have prosopagnosia, it makes sense. They thought Guy X was Snake and killed him. Wait just a moment. Let's say you're right and I mistook Guy X for Snake. Even if I did, I would have no motive to kill him. Why would I want to kill Snake? Well, I can think of at least 2 motives. 1, Snake knew about your past. If he ever revealed what he knew, that would be really bad for you. You really didn't want that to happen. So to make sure Snake's mouth stayed shut, you killed him. 2, Snake had a grudge against you. You knew that, or at least you could have easily assumed he did. Even without exposing your identity, he was a threat to you. You never knew when you might be attacked. You couldn't ever let your guard down. Every moment was a moment he might try something. You didn't want that kind of danger hanging over you, so you... Hey, hold on a minute! For the first time since the beginning of Junpei's explanation, someone besides Ace spoke. What's the past that Ace wouldn't want us to know? Why did Snake have a grudge against him? Oh, look at this. He handed Santa a small piece of paper. Santa squinted at the paper and began to read. The notary game was played once before, 9 years ago. The person with the number 2 bracelet attended the game 9 years ago. It was planned by the following 4 people. Cradle Pharmaceutical CEO, Gentaro Hongo. What is this? Slowly, Santa looked up from the paper. His eyes met Junpei's. It's a message from Zero. It was in the safe in the first-class cabin. Then suddenly... Oh, give me a break! Ace's face was red and shaking. His voice was full of fury, tinged with desperation. That paper is a lie! Someone is trying to frame me! Me? Oh, you said me, right? Junpei's eyes narrowed and the trap began to close. Ace inhaled sharply. His eyes flicked a huff of Junpei to something. Anything else. Wouldn't that mean that you're admitting that you're Hongo, the CEO of Cradle Pharmaceutical? Or am I mistaken? It was as though a switch had been flipped. Color drained from Ace's face as he realized what he'd done. His eyes went wide. Very well, I admit that much. I am certainly the CEO of Cradle Pharmaceutical, Gentaro Hongo. So what if I am? I don't know anything about this notary game that supposedly took place 9 years ago. Everything on that scrap of paper is bullshit. Someone is trying to set me up, you see? First of all, Ace stammered as he tried desperately to work himself to a more tenable position. Junpei, you're claiming I did all this by myself. Think that over, all right? How could I have killed Snake all by myself? Oh, not Snake. It was Guy X. I don't care who it was. You said the killer put the other man into door 3, right? Yeah, maybe. Then I couldn't have possibly done that alone. I couldn't have opened door 3 with only myself and Guy X. Nope, you could have, actually. Huh? Oh? What? Ace's face was tight, and his teeth were clenched. Junpei fixed him with a level stare. The trap was about to close. Actually, Ace, when you were unconscious, I took something from you. Remember when you were injected with that anesthetic and fell asleep in the big hospital room? Yeah, back then. I took this. Junpei put his hand into his pocket. No, you couldn't have! Ace's right hand moved. Junpei smiled. Gotcha, Ace. Your right hand there tells me there's me that all I needed to know. You want to tell me what you were so worried about? What's in your pocket? Ugh. It's the number 9 bracelet, isn't it? Ace, Guy X and the 9th man's bracelet. That was all you needed to open door 3. 1 + 2 + 9 = 12. 1 + 2 = 3. That's how you killed Guy X all by yourself, Ace. All you needed was the 9th man's bracelet in your chest pocket. Ace lowered his hand from where it had stopped, halfway to his pocket. He looked down at the floor, his face hidden from Junpei. All he could see was the corner of Ace's mouth, twitching like a dying fish. If you want to play innocent, that's fine by me. Go ahead. Tell me, I don't have the bracelet, if that's what you want to do. But if you could take off your coat and hand it to me, I'd really appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll have to take it from you by force. Right, Seven? Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. Seven cracked his knuckles with a sound like gunfire. Ace roared with laughter. He threw his arms wide and head back and laughed, filling the room with a sound that scarcely belonged there. Then it stopped. His arms came down, and his head dropped to look straight ahead at Junpei. His face was flat and cold, devoid of any emotion. Well done, Junpei. As you so correctly deduced, I have the number 9 bracelet. I retrieved it while we were searching for the missing hardware for the Reds. I left the room I was supposed to search and headed up to the first cabin on B deck. His voice showed no emotion, no sense of remorse or interest. It was almost bored, as though he was reciting an especially dull corporate letter. My purpose was to obtain the 9th bracelet. 9 is a potential potent ally in the notary game. Adding 9 to any set of numbers won't alter the digital root. 1 + 9 = 10, 1 + 0 = 1. 2 + 9 = 11, 1 + 1 = 2. 3 + 9 = 12, 1 + 1, or 1 + 2 = 3, and so on. As you can see, 9 is a very useful number here. With it, one can go anywhere, with anyone. So I made for the first-class cabin to obtain it. Ace successfully acquired the number 9 bracelet. He also found an unexpected bonus, the knife the 9th man had been holding. He slipped both of them into his chest pocket and left, as quietly as he'd come. He walked down the stairs and headed back to where he was supposed to be. That was when he met Guy X and mistook him for Snake. Snake was on his way to the large hospital room and had not noticed Ace behind him. Ace made sure it stayed that way. He followed the man wearing Snake's clothes to door 3. When the man stopped, he walked up behind him quietly and called out, "Snake." The man turned to look at Ace. He said nothing. No words came out of his half-open mouth. He seemed dazed, somehow, almost like a man half asleep. Perhaps he'd even been drugged. It didn't matter to Ace. Ace was certain the man was Snake. He knew Snake had been a part of the notary game 9 years before. Snake hadn't recognized Ace immediately, but he was blind. That much made sense. Why then hadn't Snake said anything to him? Surely he hadn't forgotten what had happened to him in the notary game, but not once had he attempted to confront Ace. Perhaps his lack of sight had prevented him from recognizing Ace, or perhaps Snake had conspired with Zero to deceive Ace. In either event, he was a threat, and it was better to deal with him sooner rather than later. Ace's mind was made up. He moved. Held the number 9 bracelet over the red. He waved his own bracelet in front of the red, and finally grabbed Snake's arm and shoved his hand against the sensor panel. The door opened. Ace threw the man through it. 9 seconds later, the door shut. 81 seconds passed. The man inside the door passed away. After that, I returned to my post as though nothing had happened. After conducting my own search, I returned to the large hospital room when the 1 a.m. bell rang. Ace's eyes were cold. His cheeks were hollow and pallid. When he spoke, only his lips and tongue moved. The rest of his face was eerily still. Junpei glared at Ace, took a deep breath, and thought about his next question he had to ask him. He didn't want to. He knew what the answer would be. He just didn't want to hear it. Junpei swallowed and then spoke. Ace, did you kill Clover? Yes. Why? Why did you kill her? She was Snake's sister. It was possible he had told her something dangerous. Additionally, she had gone through door 1. It seemed that she likely had found something. Found what? Why don't you go through door 1 yourself? Perhaps it's hidden somewhere. Seven and Lotus interrupted. Yeah, but Lotus and I went through door 1 too. We didn't see anything suspicious. Yeah, I thought as much. After I heard your report at the central stairs, I doubt the two of you could find it. But perhaps Clover was different. Perhaps she had found it. I was therefore desperate to find her, and at last I did, in the first-class cabin. I spoke very calmly. Did you see it? See what? Oh, don't act as if you didn't. You were in the captain's quarters, weren't you? Huh? What are you talking about? Very well. By the way, what are you doing here, Clover? What? Nothing. There's blood on your shoes. It looks fresh. Did you take a look at the 9th man's corpse? I see. Your silence suggests that you noticed. You saw something, didn't you? You saw that his bracelet was gone. Clover ran. She made for the exit, but Ace stood in her way. Oh, you aren't going anywhere. He caught her by the collar as she passed and threw her to the floor, hard. She leapt back and darted past him, into the hallway. Ace followed at a run. He was faster. And that was how I killed Clover. His face hadn't changed. If he felt guilt or remorse, or anything one might feel after taking the life of another human being, it didn't show. You son of a bitch! Seven's whole body trembled with rage, and his voice rumbled with hate. Santa's eyes were bloodthirsty, and Lotus and June's faces were distorted by anger and hatred. Ace looked at them and smiled. It was a cold, cruel thing with no humor in it. He shook his head and sighed. I admit it, I've lost. I've lost completely and utterly. But don't misunderstand, Junpei. I didn't lose to you. I lost to Zero, not you. I'm rather disgusted with myself for falling for such a simple trap. And it was a trap, make no mistake. I was trapped and manipulated by Zero. The man I killed in the shower room? If he wasn't Snake, then I have no idea who he was. But he was wearing Snake's clothes, and that was no coincidence. He had been injected with something that reduced his cognition and prevented him from identifying himself or resisting me. And we can't forget the components that were removed from the red before we arrived. I have no doubt that Zero planned all of this. Zero made sure I would kill that man. It follows, of course, that Zero knew everything I would do. That I would try to take the number 9 bracelet, that I would try to kill Snake, Everything. Suddenly, Jim remembered the paper he'd found in the safe. Remembered the last words Zero had written on it. I must punish them for the innocent lives they sacrificed. This is the only warning they will receive. That the innocent souls might be saved. I now state the truth. Zero. And he remembered other words that he'd heard from Clover. I think Zero is one of us. One by one, Junpei looked at the 5 people standing in the room. Ace, Santa, June, Seven, Lotus. Zero is one of us. No, Junpei paused. There was one more person. Snake. It was clear now that the man who died in the shower room was not Snake. That meant that Snake was almost certainly still alive. Perhaps Snake was Zero? Perhaps Snake had made Guy X wear his clothes so that he would appear to be dead. Where was Snake now? Perhaps he was somewhere, laughing at them. If he was Zero, surely he lied about many other things. Was he watching them? Well, I believe I finished up my confession. Why don't we get moving? He sounded as if he just finished doing nothing more exciting than describing the weather. For Santa, that was the last straw. What the hell is this shit? You aren't going anywhere, you son of a bitch! We're gonna leave your ass here to rot! Why? Because I killed Clover? That's ridiculous. Or are you so upset that I killed the little bitch? She was nothing to you. A stranger you only met a few hours ago. Am I wrong? You bastard! Seven roared and lifted a fist that would likely have shattered Ace's jaw. But someone else was faster. It was Lotus. She stepped towards Ace, raised a fist of her own, and drove it straight into his nose. Huh? Well, you've got some fire, don't you? I confess, I rather like a tough woman. He sniffed, wiped a trickle of blood from his nose with a raised eyebrow. Well, maybe you'd like another one then. Ha, but before that, let me give you one of my own. Huh? Though scarcely had time to blink. Ace snaked his arms around her and pulled Lotus's back up against him. In the same motion, he reached for his coat pocket. It was a gun. The revolver. Almost lazily, he tilted it to point at Lotus's head. If any of you so much as blink, I won't hesitate to pull this trigger. I've already killed 3 people. Don't think I'm not ready to make it 4. 3 people? What do you mean? Very well. Let me take this opportunity to illuminate you. The person who killed the 9th man was also me. Although I suppose it would be more accurate, I encouraged him to get himself killed. While I was examining the main staircase, he came to me and told me his name. I recognized it at once, so I gave him a little push. Just a little white lie. It seems the setting for the dead were altered. Now it only requires a single person to deactivate the detonator in the bracelet. Investigate what's beyond door 5, and we'll meet later. Oh, okay. Have a good one, guys. I'm going off ahead now. Well then. Shit! Why isn't it stopping? God damn it! You lied! Oh, open the door! Please! I'm begging you! Help me! Please get me out of here! Get me out of here! Oh my god! Oh my god, there's no time left! Listen! I was lied to! He lied to me! He put me in here! It was him! He killed me! It was him! Ah! I had 4 reasons for killing him. 1. As I said before, in the notary game, the number 9 bracelet is of utmost importance. If I had allowed him to keep such a useful tool, he or it would have become a threat to me. As such, I decided that he should be eliminated early on. 2. I wanted the number 9 bracelet. If I could manage to obtain it, I'd be able to manipulate the game as I saw fit. I'd be unable to acquire the bracelet unless its owner was dead. 3. Even setting aside his number, he would have been nothing but trouble for me. He was aware of my past. He knew what happened here 9 years ago. It was important that I eliminate him before he was able to dispense that information. 4. Lastly, I wish to conduct a simple test. a test to see if this notary game was serious or a poor attempt at a joke. I needed to be quite sure. As such, I encouraged him to act against the rules, so that I might observe the outcome. Junpei glared at him. I don't get your third motive. What the hell happened 9 years ago? Oh, didn't I say? The notary game was played. I planned it out, and I conducted its execution. Why? Why on earth was it supposed to do? I don't really think I have any obligation to tell you that. Ace smirked. He was trying to provoke them, and it was working. Although Ace had paid very little attention to Lotus after catching her, the gun never wavered from her temple. She looked quite pale, and when she spoke, her voice shook. Hey, what's with this gun? Where did he get this? Oh, why don't you tell her, Santa? Santa ground his teeth and glared at Ace. On the other side of door 6. We found the gun in the coffin in the cargo room, right? The bastard must have grabbed it when we weren't looking. Indeed I did. That was a pretty serious mistake, you know. Just saying you intended to leave it behind. Ace laughed. A short and diverse snort, and gave Junpei a sickeningly pitying look. Well, there isn't much time left. I'll be off then. Where are you going? Do I really need to explain? I'd assumed it would be obvious. I have the number 9 bracelet, and now I have Lotus. 9 plus 8 plus 1 equals 18. 1 plus 8 equals 9. Wasn't there a door with a 9 on it in the room that looked like a church? That's where you're going, isn't it? And how do you know that? Santa told me about it while we were looking for Clover. I see. Well, you are correct. That is my destination. But now I must say goodbye to all of you. Oh, and please, don't forget my warning. Move and I'll pull the trigger. I don't need her alive to open the door, you know. As he spoke, Ace began backing towards the door, practically dragging Lotus behind him. Junpei, Santa, June, and Seven stood frozen. Ace had the face of a man gone mad. They had no doubt he would pull the trigger. Ace reached the exit. He forced Lotus to open it, and turned and addressed them once more. Goodbye. Then he stepped through the door. It fell shut. In the blink of an eye, they were gone. As soon as Ace and Lotus were gone, Junpei and the others leapt for the door, in pursuit of Ace. But as Junpei laid his hand on the doorknob, there was a noise behind him. He looked over his shoulder. June was kneeling on the floor, breathing heavily. Hey! June, what happened? Are you all right? Santa ran to June and wrapped his arm around her before she could collapse all the way. Oh, Jesus, you're burning up! Your fever's back! Are you okay? June's fever had returned, again for no apparent reason. Her eyes were watery and her eyelids drooped. Her breath came in dry, shallow gasps. I'm okay. Really, I'm fine. You should be worrying about Lotus. She was breathing hard now. She could barely summon the strength to talk. Junpei was torn. He couldn't leave June alone in the state she was in. But every moment they waited, Ace was further away, Lotus's life in his hands. What was Junpei supposed to do? June's eyes drifted to Junpei. She managed to muster a weak smile. Junpei, don't worry about me. I just need a little rest. I'll be fine. Don't you remember? I just need to rest a little bit, like last time. So please save Lotus. Think about what Ace has already done, Junpei. When he's got what he needs from her, you really think he's gonna let her live? God damn it! You guys go ahead. As soon as June starts feeling better, we'll follow you. Go! Junpei looked at June. She nodded once. She couldn't manage much more. But it was all the confirmation Junpei needed. His resolve was set. All right. Come on, Seven. We're going after Ace. Hell yeah! Santa, you take good care of June. I'm trusting you. Santa nodded. Junpei turned before he had the chance to change his mind and started running towards the door. He could hear Seven's heavy footsteps behind him. Let's go! Junpei and Seven exploded into the hallway, their feet pounding the metal floor as they ran. All right, actually, I think we will pause the action here, unfortunately. But a huge reveal. Holy frick, Ace. It was Ace all along, and he had the Nightman's bracelet. Like, crap, okay. Anyway, we'll pick it up next time and see if we can't catch up to him, and hopefully save Lotus. All right, this was Scotty J signing off, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!